And 9, Wiggins was there, Steph was there. Assess this performance by this squad.
I think it was a great performance. With the exception of maybe that first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, this team put together a great performance when it mattered most. This game was obviously very important, and a lot of guys in our locker room haven't played in many important games. So for guys to step up the way they did, Andrew Wiggins, what did he finish with?
21 and 10.
21 and 10. The 21 is great, but the 10 rebounds were incredible. And so, obviously, Steph, MVP type performance. Everybody stepped up, and it was a good win for us.
You have an incredible ability to diagnose any game, but talk about the growth you're seeing from your teammates when it comes to diagnosing a game and just taking what the defense gives you. The Grizzlies were taking away the 3-ball, the back cuts were there the whole game, and you guys were content living in the paint, and then the 3-ball started falling. So everybody did a great job adjusting, just taking what the defense gave them.
Like I said a couple games ago, when Steph, early in the season, when Steph wasn't making shots, we lose by 40. It wasn't necessarily a lack of making shots, more so than it was they were draped all over them. Everybody else, we used that to our advantage. And I think that's where the growth is. Guys are learning how to use them the way they're guarding Steph to our advantage. And, that's why I started off so aggressive. They were all over Steph. That opens up lanes. Once the game kind of settled down, I can settle into, what I do best, which is get my teammates involved and get the ball moving around.
Hey, tell us about your locker mate. That kid, Jordan Poole, is growing up before our eyes here. I know it's Michigan State, but there's a little love there. You've always kind of said his work ethic this summer and the pandemic kind of blew you away. How about Jordan this week at home on this homestand?
Like you said, Michigan State, it is what it is. That's my guy. The resiliency that he's shown, getting sent down to the G League bubble and playing his ass off down there and coming back up and picking up right where he left off at in the bubble has been incredible. And, that's been a big reason, we've grown is, that scorer coming off the bench. And he's been incredible for us. And, most importantly, he's growing defensively. The play with Ja Morant, a couple months ago, that's a foul. And, he goes vertical. He doesn't get the foul. And, it was a successful challenge for us. Those are the plays for Jordan that keeps him on the floor and allows him to do what he do best, which is he's a scorer and a playmaker. I think one of the reasons he struggled last year, we all wanted him to just be a shooter.
Yeah.
And, the difference in his game is he has the ball in his hands more, and he's more than just a shooter. He can shoot. But he's a great playmaker, and he can get to the cup. So it's incredible to see the growth, JP.
And the side of the floor you love defensively. Andrew Wiggins had 10 rebounds. You had 9 rebounds. Like, everybody chipped in when it came to defensive rebounding. People are talking about, you guys are so small, and Valanciunas was going to take advantage of his size, which he did a good job. But are you guys almost enjoying?
I'm a motherfucking dog. Straight like that. I don't know how else to tell you. People have been going at me for years with centers. They've been going at Loon for years. That shit ain't worked yet. We dogs, so keep trying it.
Hey, Draymond, that is the perfect way to end the interview right there. I would say the FCC has a little something to say about that, but for Draymond Green, he ain't lying. You want to keep going at him? Bring it on for the Defensive Player of the Year. And Daddy Draymond is going to be home for dinner.
Meanwhile, Steph Curry, he's already the scoring champion for the second time in his career. What does he have to do in order to get the win in the 8th seed?
Continue to be aggressive. Jordan Poole came in and did a great job of putting in buckets when Steph was on the bench. But he and Draymond Green was doing work. And Day-Day with that bucket needs about another 1,500 points to be the scoring champ. Oh, that's right. Steph Curry's going to be the scoring champ. Runner off the wrong foot.
You're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance. Ja Morant got to get on this Grizzly in the second half if they're going to win this game.
Nuggets, they have a big game at Portland tonight, and they might not want to win that game. That's an interesting thing to watch. If the Nuggets win, they likely would play the Lakers. That's why we think the Blazers will win, and this would be the most likely scenario after the games today. The Nuggets lose, that means the Blazers are 6th, and look at this, the Lakers would be in the play-in. The other big game in San Francisco, if the Warriors hold serve at home tonight, they will get 8. And then this would be our play-in scenario. Here we have the Lakers, Warriors this week in that first play-in game. How about that? Grizzlies, Spurs. If this just goes chalk, the Warriors would get 8. The Lakers would get 7. And man, look at these matchups in the Western Conference. Jazz, Warriors, Suns rewarded for that great season with a first-round matchup against LeBron James and the Lakers.
Oh, that looks too good to be true, honestly, when you're looking at that potential Western Conference bracket. Now, remember, we do have a doubleheader today, and in the second game, look for the Grizzlies to crash the glass. They lead the NBA in second chance points per game, while the Warriors allow the fourth most this season. But of course, Golden State has Steph, who is averaging the three-pointers the most in a season in NBA history, and obviously the 8 seed is on the line for the Grizzlies and the Warriors. But I want to go back to what Kirk was talking about with the Nuggets, and obviously sitting there now, you could be playing the Mavericks, but if you win and you move up, then you have a chance to be playing the Lakers. They can decide where the Lakers land. They can decide where the Trailblazers land. I mean, what approach should they have going into the last day of the regular season?
Well, Kirk said it exactly right. This is a Portland team that is motivated to win today, and this is a Denver team that on paper, and you look at how it breaks down, there is not great motivation to win this game. I'm told to expect Denver to limit the minutes of their key players today. You're not going to see their key guys on the floor throughout the game. Nikola Jokic is interesting, though. Today will mark, he will achieve his goal of having played in every game this season. That was important to him. His minutes are expected to be lower too, but he loves to play. He loves to compete. So, don't rule out Jokic just going to check himself back into a game later. But I think the plan is for Denver to be really careful with their guys, get some rest, and head to the playoffs, and Portland would put Portland in good position.
And if players and coaches tell you that they don't jockey for position or pay attention to who they're playing, that's like somebody on Wall Street telling you they don't pay attention to the stock market. Like they do. Mm-hmm. It's their job to know. And if you're the Denver Nuggets, what you should know today is that we don't want to play the Lakers in the first round. Mm-hmm. So you go to the Joker and you say, hey, I'll give you the first half, big fella. You give me 20 to 24 minutes. But I also want to keep you healthy so we can practice these next handful of days and get ready for the playoffs.
We've seen so much jockeying in the last week of teams trying to avoid the Lakers in the West. And the fact that the Lakers are in that play-in scenario has changed how teams. Not only do you have tanking teams tanking in the NBA, right. You've had playoff teams tanking. And that's been one of, I think, of the unintended consequences of this play-in tournament, but also not having the Lakers at the 1 or 2 like you would have normally expected, being down in that 6-7 range.
But the ultimate intended consequence from this play-in is we're going to get a chance to celebrate the top seeds when the playoffs start. So we'll talk about the Suns and the Jazz and the Clippers then. We'll talk about the Nets and the Sixers and then. But now we're focused on the lower part of the bracket, and that's terrific for the league.
Yeah, and it's huge for the last game that we actually have today on our air. It's the Grizzlies, and they're taking on the Warriors. Who do you think benefits more from being locked into the 8 seed?
I believe, and I disagree with Kurt, I think the Memphis Grizzlies are going to find a way, Maria, to get that 8th spot. I think they're going to be extremely motivated to do it, and you just showed a contrast of their styles. Mm-hmm. And their offenses perform dramatically different. When you have Steph Curry, it's unlimited range. When you have John Morant and Valanciunas, it's like points in the paint. And Dylan Brooks is one of my favorite irrational confidence guys. He's led the league, and ready for this, in fouls the last 2 years. So he don't mind mixing it up with the opponent. I just think they're going to be really motivated, and Jaren Jackson is returning. I believe Memphis gets in the playoffs.
And they've won 5 straight games, so they're feeling good. But you had something to report too, Woj, and it concerns the Eastern Conference standings.
Yeah, I'm told Bradley Beal is going to play against Charlotte today. The Wizards need to win to get the 8th seed, move up ahead of Charlotte. And also Bradley Beal in that race with Steph Curry for the scoring title. He's going to have to do a lot of scoring today to win that title. He's 0.04 points behind Curry going into the day, but Beal's been out with that hamstring injury. It'll be interesting to see how many minutes he plays, how hard he pushes today. But I'm told, hey, Brad knows his body.